Sing Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So we all have our mics on. Yes. The audience have our cell phones on silent. Okay, roll call, please.
Ernest Franco?
Here.
David Maderos?
Here.
Shonda B. Bear?
Here.
And Pat Garrett is absent.
I'll put him down as an excused absence. He did let us know ahead of time.
I'd like to read, you notice, I guess your name's already gone, but you notice that Georgiana's not up here anymore. I don't think am I on?
Tap it.
Are you on?
Thank you. I'm going to read her letter of resignation. And this was actually addressed to all of us and the mayor, but I know she'll be acknowledged at the next city council meeting. She wrote, "Dear Mayor Lund, birthdays are good times to look at where we've been and where we are going. With this in mind, I have decided that it is time for me to resign from the Planning Commission. I've had the privilege of serving with the best team we have had working for the city council, the Planning Commission, the management, and the staff. It is time for me to join the public whose response to the work we have all done is gratifying. People are attending meetings and exchanging ideas and getting involved. I have faith in the sincerity of the Strategic Committee under the leadership of Councilman Edge. Look for me in the back row." Okay, there she is. "Where Gallardi could be found at most meetings in the past 54 years. The back row is where volunteering begins. That's where Tony Bach, Jolene Cosio, Pat Garrett, Richard Ponce, Roger Grimsley, Kara Vonk, Rebecca McGovern, Ruben Garza, Rick Edge, Chris Martirano, on and on. It all started. A good habit is hard to break. Thank you for the privilege of serving our city, Georgiana Gallardi." And we'd like to thank Georgiana for the years that she served with us, both as a commissioner and as a volunteer. Hopefully she'll continue to sit in the back row, sharing her ideas and her institutional memory. Thank you, Georgiana. Thank you. Okay.
Ask her if she wants to stand and say something.
Do you have anything to say, Georgiana? You want to come and say anything?
I've said it all.
You've said it all. Okay. Hopefully not. Hopefully not.
Till next time.
Okay. Okay. Or tonight. There may be something you want to say tonight. Do we have any items for public comment? At this time,
Before we
go
go
ahead.
too far, I think that the Historic Resources Board and the Planning Commission should acknowledge this officially, and I think that for the next meetings we should have a resolution to that extent. And if you would work with me, we can put the resolution together.
I know City Council's doing something, but she was a member of our...
Beyond that,
yeah.
this is us.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay.
Okay. Next on the agenda is public comment, and at this time, if there's anything that anybody would like to talk about that's not on the agenda, this is your opportunity to come forward to the mic. There are speaker cards in the back. We'd ask that you put your name, your address, and then when you're called upon, come to the mic and identify yourself. Have there been any speaker cards, Connie? No. Okay. All right. Anyone? Okay. Moving along then, we have action item, affidavit of posting agenda. Okay, I guess we should take them all separately.
Unless there's something that anybody wants to pull out. Oh, action items. Oh, I'm
Yeah.
sorry. Yeah, those.
So, do we have a motion to approve the affidavit of posting agenda?
I move that we find that the posting of the agenda affidavit is adequate, and that I move that we find it so.
Second it.
Thank you. Roll call.
Board Member Franco?
Aye.
Board Member Garrett is absent. Board Member Maderos?
Aye.
Chairman B. Bear?
Aye.
With 3 members of the board meeting present, the motion is taken by the maker passes unanimously.
All right, next item on the agenda is to approve the minutes for the November 5th, 2014 special meeting.
I was absent, I believe.
You were.
Did you follow
yes,
it
you
on
were.
Did you follow it on the TV?
I'm not sure.
No, we don't.
Okay.
It was so long ago.
I don't remember.
Since you're going to recuse yourself of this?
On this particular item?
Yeah.
I don't, yeah.
We'll have to wait then because we don't have a quorum.
Okay.
Okay.
So we're going to have to wait on this item because we don't have a quorum since Commissioner Maderos was
I
absent.
was absent,
Okay.
and I didn't review it live.
Okay, moving on to item C, consideration of a recommendation to the Planning Commission to approve a sign permit for Golden Wheel Antiques at 407 3rd Street. The applicant is Anthony Cornaggio. Anyone from the family present? Okay, we'll have to table it.
Move this into the end of the meeting in the
Okay.
event that they come in late.
Okay.
Table till the end of the meeting, okay.
Next item for discussion is the vacancy on the Historic Resources Board and Planning Commission.
Oh,
Do we have any speaker cards? No speaker cards. Do we have any, we don't have a staff report, do we?
No.
No? Any,
I should have held up my suggestion for this part. Because with the vacancy, we could have talked about
Yeah.
the resolution.
I think Deputy City Clerk Trish, she sent out a notice and had it posted and everything, and maybe she could say, did we get anybody responding? Yeah.
Yes, a couple people have expressed an interest. One person pulled the papers, but I have not received any paperwork back at this point.
okay,
Thank you.
thank you. And that will be a decision for City Council at their next meeting?
At the March 17th meeting.
Okay. Okay, the next item is comments from the Historic Resources Board. Any comments, David?
Nothing other than Georgiana, I'm going to miss her. That's, you know. But I guess she's going to be around, and I know where she
You know
lives.
where to find her.
That kind of a thing. So hopefully she'll help us in the future with other volunteer items and what have you. I know she will. So, but I'm still going to miss you anyway up here.
If you can't find her, always look at the back row.
I know.
Yeah, look in the background.
Mr. Chairman,
Uh-oh.
I would remind you that I just put this bulletin board together, and up in the corner it says that San Juan planners okayed zoning ordinance for the first time in March of 1965.
Wow.
First time.
Thank you for your continued presence. I would just like to point out that the new Mission Village Voice is available. There are a few copies in the back. And I'm particularly interested in the then and now feature, which shows an item from the past and an item from today. We're going to continue that. And May is Preservation Month. So typically we acknowledge a property owner downtown who has done exemplary work in renovating or remodeling a structure. So if you, Georgiana's still going to consult with me, but if you have any ideas on anyone you'd like to propose, let us know. Staff, any comments?
No?
Okay. All right then. I'm going to close this meeting in record time.
What time?
What? 6:11.
6:11. That's a fast meeting. Okay, now we change here to the regular Planning Commission meeting, the City of San Juan Bautista. Tonight is March 3rd, 2015. We'll have a roll call for order, please.
Ernest Franco,
Here.
David Maderos,
Here.
Carmen Beaver,
Here.
and
Excused. Absence. Okay, at this time we'll take comments from the public on an item that is not on the agenda. If you want to speak on an item that is on the agenda, if you'd hold your comments, and that way it'll be a complete package as opposed to having your comments now and then the issue held later. So, does anyone would like to speak on any issue that's not related to the agenda? Good, bad, or indifferent? No takers. Okay. We'll take that as none. Do we have any informal project reviews?
None.
Okay, the informal project reviews, when someone can come in, tell us what they'd like to do in San Juan Bautista, and get a feeling for it. If there's a big laugh, you know that nobody likes it. If it's something that can be worked on, we can give them a lot of ideas. They can go see their architects, engineers, and it doesn't cost them anything at this time, as opposed to spending thousands of dollars for a preliminary presentation that would not have gone through at all. Okay, there being none, we'll take that too. We have consent agenda here. We have 3 items. To approve the affidavit of posting agenda, verifying that it was done. Approve the affidavit of the posting of the public hearing notices, again, verifying that it's done. And approve the minutes for the meeting of November 5, 2014.
So we're going to have to recuse on that one, too? Yep.
Okay.
So we have to table it for,
We'll continue that one to the next regular
But
meeting.
we can go ahead and make a motion on affidavit?
A-
I have some comments, first of all.
Oh, okay.
On the minutes of the meeting of November 5th, I'd like to make some comments for change. Okay, on the second page, page 2, those II and triple I, approved resolution 2014 XX 3 separate times. Can you put the appropriate numbers in there?
Yeah.
Okay, and that would be for all of them. Then the second to the last paragraph, third line, will be situated on all lots as the commission needs more information before they can make a decision. It's a split. And then again, there on page 3, there's 2 double X's there. On page 5, oh, it only does one.
None of those resolutions were passed, so I don't have numbers.
Oh, okay.
The item came before
Oh.
but no resolutions were passed.
Okay, my mistake. Thank you. Okay, the last paragraph on page 5. Chairman Frank opened for public comment. Eric Ridisoff suggested ED on the end of that one. And I'm good.
okay, if we're looking at punctuation or grammar. Today is National Grammar Day, by the way.
Only a teacher would know that.
Yeah. On the first page, no, that wasn't it. Yeah, on page 1, item 5A, second line, 505 3rd Street, 3rd should be capitalized.
I missed that.
And on page 5, the second line from the bottom, a citizens group should be plural. So put the apostrophe after the S. And that's all.
Okay. We'll take it. Okay, for the 2 items, the affidavit of posting and the affidavit of posting of public hearing notice, Chair will entertain a motion for approval.
I'll make a motion for items A and B to be approved.
I'll second that motion.
Vote.
Commissioner Figueroa?
Aye.
Commissioner Garrett is absent. Commissioner Maderos?
Aye.
Chairman Franco?
Aye.
With 3 members of the commission being present, the motion is taken by the mayor passes unanimously.
If you're wondering what's happening, when you have 3 people on a 5-person board, all decisions must be unanimous. And if one person has to recuse for any reason, technically we don't have a quorum, and that item cannot be worked with. Okay, public hearing items. Consider a conditional use permit for Hacienda de Leal, allowing outdoor dining as an accessory use in the courtyard and patio area. Section 1104030B of San Juan Bautista Municipal Code. This is a continued public hearing. Staff, can you lead us off on this?
All right. I don't know if you want to hear from Mr. Leal first or whether you want to hear mine first, because even the title's not technically correct.
Well, why don't we start with staff then?
Okay. So, Mr. Leal, his position is that he has an existing use permit from 1979 stating that on their property they can have a 42-unit motel and a 40-seat restaurant. So on that assumption, he's been installing restaurant equipment like a pizza oven and kitchen sinks and things in the outdoor building there that used to be the pool house, and has gone to the San Benito County Health Department and gotten a health permit for a restaurant with up to 100 capacity seating. And then the ABC permit he's applied for is license type 47, which is alcohol associated with a restaurant use. And currently, all of the ABC permit's on hold because the ABC wants to make sure that he has a valid use permit with the city for that restaurant use. That's sort of the backstory. So I, being staff, had to go in and do a little research to make sure everything was consistent. And a few issues popped up. One being, there were some questions around whether the original parcel, which included the corner that Mr. Dodwall now owns, was where the original restaurant was proposed to be, and since it was subdivided, whether that split off the use or not. Our assumption at this point is that the use goes with the land, and since the original parcel is the one that Mr. Leal owns, it should be with that, but that's sort of a little murky, and I still don't have a complete answer on that. And as it was subdivided in 1981, before anything was built on either, that's another
But
interesting
the permit was approved in
79.
79.
And then there's a lot of sort of tricky things with the commercial zone. So what we were hung up on the last meeting was that in section 11430, commercial and industrial districts, it states that all commercial uses shall be conducted entirely within an enclosed building with the exception of outdoor dining as an accessory to a restaurant use. And at that point, we weren't considering just the pizza oven a restaurant use anyway. So we were saying, oh, well, you know, it's not in the same building as the main seating area, which he was saying that the lobby was going to be where the seating area was for this restaurant. In the time since then, I delved into that a little bit more, and Mr. Lau pointed out the other day too, but by definition in our municipal code, restaurant covers pretty much anything that serves food, and it's really open, meaning that his current setup actually does qualify as a restaurant, in my opinion, because it has everything like sandwich stands and everything else that obviously don't have associated indoor seating. So going on that, that should make it qualify for the exception of, stated here, with the exception of outdoor dining as an accessory to a restaurant use. So typically you think of the restaurant use being something like Hardeen's, where the restaurant itself is indoors, the seating is outside. But according to the fact that, you know, by definition, his setup qualifies as a restaurant, the outdoor seating is the accessory use to it. And then also I spoke to San Benito County Health Department. I think I mentioned this earlier, but they actually didn't. They were approached with only the outdoor seating and the outside restaurant, nothing to do with the lobby. So really, I think what we're considering here is that setup. You know, people might be able to eat in there too, but you have to consider outdoor restaurant, outdoor seating, period. Oh, and then the other thing was that when we got to looking at the municipal code, in section 11.250, where they have the matrix of allowable and permitted and conditional uses, in the commercial zone, neither restaurants nor outdoor dining associated with restaurants is actually an allowed use, which is odd because we already have restaurants functioning in the commercial zone. So,
And at the time the permit was issued, in 79, it was...
it was designated C1, and in C1, yes, restaurants were a permitted use.
Okay.
But then in 2007, they changed it from a text-only description of zoning districts to this matrix.
Matrix, yeah.
At which time, we're assuming they left this out. And, you know, I can't get in the heads of those people, so I don't know if that was intentional or unintentional, but it makes it problematic for people now in the commercial district, which, you know, traditionally in lots of other locations, you know, restaurants are allowed in commercial, so.
And we have 3 or 4 that are zoned commercial that have restaurants in them.
So you need to
Okay.
decide whether, one, his use permit from 1979 is still valid and covers what his setup is now, And then we also need to address the fact that in the municipal code, no restaurants are allowed in the commercial zone. So that's,
Would it be subject to a conditional
yeah,
use?
would it be subject to a conditional use permit in addition to his, or?
I can't believe, but yes, I can.
Yes, you can.
When I functioned as zoning administrator in another city, they left out the word may not. The ordinance said the zoning administrator may not do something. They left out the word not.
Yes.
In the muni code, in the code, that was published, and that caused me no end of grief until we got it changed. So, someplace along the line, somebody didn't know what they were doing, or they dropped that thing, and I'd be the one who would go back and say, can we find the original ordinance and say, hey, what was really intended here, and make that change, because I just find it that doesn't make sense. Okay, commissioners.
Can we
Oh,
hear
no,
from-
let's hear from the applicant first before we go into this. Somebody's got to talk.
I don't know what to say. I'm just confused from day one. So
You're in good company right now.
it's in your hands. Zoned a restaurant. I have a permit for a restaurant. I showed you my health permit. I'm good with the health department. I'm good with the ABC until you guys started digging around. They were ready to give me my license. So the ball's in your court. I don't know what to do. But I'm losing revenue, and I need an answer tonight. So
See what we can do.
I don't know where it goes from here, but I enjoy everyone's company, but I can't keep coming to these meetings month after month and decide what's going on here. It's either yes or no. So, yeah, the ball's in your court. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I guess what we're trying to do here is make sure that the ordinance and the laws of the city are complied with. And that's bottom line, because I've said before, if somebody is allowed not to have to comply with the ordinance, that is an economic advantage over other people that are similarly situated in the similar zoning in the city. And that would be contrary to good planning and good government. And so this is what we're looking for, is to make sure. And the other thing too is if we make a mistake and give you something, that would set you up for someone to come up and say, hey, you did this, get an injunction, they freeze you. And I'd rather not have that happen when we could solve all the problems here at the Planning Commission level. I don't want to have it set up so that you have to go for an appeal to get what you want. I'd rather you get it here based on what the current laws and ordinances are related to it.
Right, and going back to that, I don't understand how a gas station with a drive-through McDonald's can be approved for a restaurant in a commercial zone where I'm at, and now all of a sudden it gets brought up. I don't get that.
Well, there's no drive-through in there, and McDonald's was never brought up at the time the Planning Commission was working with it. It is a restaurant, but there's no drive-through because we tried to change the ordinance, the formula ordinance.
But how could there be a restaurant if there's no restaurants allowed in a commercial zone?
They did it under a conditional use permit.
Yeah. Well, again, I think this may be part of the problems we're doing here. So let's try and resolve this thing, and the staff will be working on that thing. All we do have to do is find that ordinance, the original ordinance, say, hey, this is what's allowed in a commercial district, and go from there. Because I can't imagine that the city would have said, no more restaurants, we've got enough in this town as it is. That's not good planning either.
But it gets brought up when my liquor license is being filed?
I think maybe all that extra research, sometimes it brings up stuff like that. But again, we found a problem. To me, it's an opportunity to solve it. So let's see what we've got tonight. Okay.
Can we open it to the public?
Does the public want to comment on this before we commissioners get into it? We'll take it.
I just have one question.
And give your name and information to our clerk.
Robert Lund, Mayor San Juan Bautista. 1020 Mission Vineyard Road, number 6. when I was looking through there, I was wondering if the ordinance was passed after the restaurants had already established in the commercial zone, meaning that they may be, dormant to the ordinance, or were they after the commercial? Because then that would give us a reason to change the ordinance at that part.
I think the answer to that would be is that Matt and I looked at it, in 207, I think they went from a text to a matrix. Yeah.
You went from what?
From a text interpretation of allowable uses to the matrix.
Oh,
That was when the planners changed it, and there was a change in there. And then,
So several of them are from prior, some are from after.
So
So
prior
if they were
to
prior to
to
the commercial
206.
change, then
Yeah.
they're pretty much
Yeah.
before the act on that.
yeah.
So,
This is clearly a mistake on somebody's part.
yeah.
Like I said, the ordinances are passed by council, then they get sent up to the guys that make the municipal code book. And we'll set up an ordinance for you to sign, and when it gets over there, they mishmash it and put it together in a different format. Sometimes it doesn't say what you
Exactly.
wanted, what you intended to have on there.
Which we
And-
probably should have caught when it came back. We should
Well, you like to think that,
double check those.
you like to think for the money you're putting in that they do it right, but you're right. And somehow this one got
And we
missed.
we found that some matrix had it, and some matrix didn't have it. And something that was more confusing.
Well, like I said, going back to the one that says the zoning administrator may not. This has been a problem.
Okay.
I mean, we spent a lot of time, the grammar, everything, so it's perfect for our use. Our council signs it, and then when it comes back to us, who did this? So, thank you for your comments, though.
Yeah.
Thanks for attending the meeting also. Okay. Where are we?
Back to the staff.
I guess
Back
what happened here was that we had an original use permit,
to- In 1979.
79, and it was very clear as to what was approved, and they put the restaurant area on the part, and then they sold it off. And if you have a use permit that's untouched, it's almost like a vested right. But when you change the boundaries, which included an element of that permit, I truly have concerns about what we've got here.
That's a preliminary drawing that you have there.
Yeah, I included in your packet several, because these are all from the initial study and environmental impact report, and none of them are the final map, and we were not able to obtain a final map. So,
This copy shows the restaurant right where my lobby is.
yeah,
That says preliminary.
What's the date on that one?
they're all from 79. That's just because these are all from the preliminary documents.
Do we have that here, that you
Yeah,
just gave us?
it's one of
This
in
one,
that
probably.
packet that I handed
That
you.
one?
It's got red and highlighter
Oh.
on it. You can just have this one.
Okay, that one. This one.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, so one shows it at the corner where the proposed gas station is, and one shows it in the corner where he's proposing it, so. But neither of them, both of those show an open area and just says future restaurant. I mean, it doesn't even show a building, really, so.
They don't pay us enough for this. God. I think the key thing is that I can't imagine anybody who's opposed to having a restaurant and having the motel and facility. It's just that we have to comply so that we don't get caught in the shuffle and the applicant doesn't get caught in the shuffle.
It seems that since the intent in 1979 was to allow a restaurant, that what happened subsequent to that, subdivisions and, it still doesn't trump the original permit.
I just haven't heard anything that says we should not approve a conditional use permit. I haven't heard anything.
Well, it's-
I mean, there's a lot of concerns, there's a lot of issues here, you know, and yet at the same time, we've allowed another commercial parcel to allow a restaurant there, and we should honor anybody else who has a commercial parcel.
It just depends on whether you allow him to proceed with his existing use permit or whether he needs a conditional use permit, because the other ones had conditionals. So that's the distinction. Like, he'll be able to do it one way or the other, but it's just, that's the...
I think we should go with a conditional use permit.
1992, the C1 allowed
Yeah.
restaurants in
Yeah.
the text.
So somebody couldn't read or is sleeping on the job.
Yeah.
It depends. If you read the wording of the 2007 Section 11, it's not clear they didn't leave that out on purpose.
But that was, you know, so far after the original permit was issued.
Oh, yeah. I just meant as far as the existing matrix
Yeah.
not
And
having it. It
yeah.
might not have been a mistake, but...
Interesting. Okay, we can clear this all up with the use permit.
I agree.
And if we put everything on there that he has and wants to have, and the environmental review and whatever work is needed complies, that would cover all bases.
That works.
Because once the use permit is issued, ABC goes into effect, health department goes into effect, fire goes into effect, and everybody's happy. And I think that's what we're looking for. So, where are we, how are we, do we have enough now to go with the use permit for everything that we want to do on that property?
I believe so. The biggest question is, Mr. Lau, I do believe, wants to go with a conditional use permit. And he might react if you do that, but if we allow him to go with his existing use permit, we are most likely going to be challenged from another side. So that's why this is all
We want to
Well,
cover all
to
the
you guys.
bases.
So,
Let's
Yeah.
go for use permit.
Okay.
Okay. And, see, we've got,
We don't
Oh.
really have a resolution.
no, we're not ready for, we have a discussion on this thing. Okay, right now, there's a lot of things that have been happening on the property that aren't being done without permits. And that is a violation of the law,
But it's permitted for that.
not for public assembly.
It's permitted as a restaurant.
You don't have a restaurant, you have a
I
pizza
have,
oven, and you have,
I have a permit from, I have the permit from the San Benito County Health Department. It's permitted as a restaurant, so if you're so worried about getting challenged by someone else,
I'm not worried.
if I leave tonight, the city's gonna get challenged by me on it, because I have a permitted facility for a restaurant.
42-seat restaurant, no, a 42-seat motel and a restaurant.
And a restaurant, and I have permits from the health department saying I have a restaurant. So it's basically, the way you're reading, you can dig up old paperwork and read and all these gray areas and come up ways to challenge me, but I have a permitted facility. So if you're worried about getting challenged by my neighbor,
I'm not worried about your neighbor.
now the city's going to be worried about getting challenged by me when I leave tonight. I need my use. I need my liquor license. I
That
need my
makes
liquor
sense.
license, and I need it signed off by tomorrow. I need my liquor license. I'm not coming back into this room.
Well,
I'm not doing it.
okay, again, there's a process the city council has established in the municipal code, and that's what we're going to follow. And in terms of, like I said, all the projects I've dealt with, I want stuff to go to council, not so that they have to make any changes, but they sign it off because it was done right the first time. I want to do it right the first time here. That's good for you. That's good for the city, because as soon as you get this thing,
So why are you picking apart a permit that was issued in '79?
because the permit was never actuated. That restaurant was supposed to be a second building.
No,
On the
shows it
premises.
Right there in that other drawing, it's right where the lobby is. It shows it on the drawing.
That's not a building, that's just an open space. That's what he means, is it was never, actually, because there was never a building.
It shows it right where the lobby is. We can argue this thing all night, but it's permitted for it. I don't need a conditional use permit for what I'm doing.
I think one other slight hiccup was that when the pizza oven and sinks were installed, it was under a permit to do roof repair, sink installation, and rafter repairs. So a gentleman came in today asking for the kitchen permit that they got, and there isn't a kitchen permit because the kitchen work was done under the building permit for a roof repair, sink installation, and rafter repair. So we've never gone in, Roger, the building inspector, has never gone in and looked at that building as a kitchen. And there's some things in this municipal code about screens and self-closing doors and lots of other things that I know aren't in place there yet that, I'm assuming Roger would have looked at if he went and inspected it as a kitchen. So that's another sort of just murky part of this, just because of the way it's been done.
That's all we installed for sinks, per the health department. There's no cooking, there's no fryers or anything in that. Right, it's sinks. It's 3 sinks.
Since we met last month, has the lawyer been able to help in any way, looking at the material and?
Not yet, no.
At the time that this was issued, restaurant and motel, the restaurant wasn't established. It's being established today. No one is saying don't have it. But it had the environmental laws require that when there is a change on the property, it has to be accounted for. Now, the change of the property is the fact they're activating something under a whole new set of laws, national and state and county and down to the city. That is something that we can't get away from. Am I correct in?
Yeah, probably the use is allowed. Now the construction of the building is an issue there.
It's going to just mean intensification over what was there. But if they already had this thing established and activated, the environmental laws, they would have preceded it. But as soon as you're going to do something after, it seems to me that that's when those laws kick in. That'd be the first challenge you could make. It says it wasn't reviewed to determine whether it was environmental impact report was needed, neg deck was exempt. But there is an intensification if you're doing something more than has been done on that property. Correct me if I'll take any comments on that.
You've got a good valid point there. Is the ordinance for the formula business, the attorneys tacked that on and said it was a project. And if it is a project, then it has to be gone through the CIPA process. And so that's why we had to rescind it.
So is there any reason at this point why we can't go ahead and grant a conditional use permit?
Well, if we take it as an intensification of the property, it needs environmental review. That's what CEQA is all about. We might get challenged on that, but the bottom line is, that's the law. Thoughts?
I think we need to go with a use permit.
No, the
We've
city
honored
attorney
it.
used to be present at planning commission meetings. I wish that could happen again.
The what?
The city attorney used to be present at planning commission meetings.
I've done it in a number of years. Requesting.
I mean, I want to make sure that, the applicant gets the fair shake of everything. But at this point, I can, I just see an intensification over what was there. So if we go for the use permit, we need to have an initial study done on it to determine that it is or isn't exempt. What information would you need for that?
We have to,
Or should we just ask staff to prepare one?
yeah, we can prepare an initial study and, identify the impacts.
There you go, grab your mic.
Yeah, that'd be the first step is to do the initial study, and that would, initial study generally highlights the level of review in the environmental impact.
One of the other things I see that too also is the public assembly. Number of people on the premises for events. I noticed there's one that's been advertised.
All of that leads to a site and design review by the planning commission. If it's an allowable, if it's permitted use under the thing there, should you consider just going directly to the site and design review?
But you still have to do the CEQA project, CEQA information.
Yeah. That would be preparatory for it, yeah.
Now, we do have an open use permit. It's been continuous, so we don't have to post and everything for it. Could you have something for us at the next meeting?
Yes, we could do that.
Okay, let's. We don't need to vote on this, do we? Or-
Could we have a special meeting?
No.
No.
We've done it. I want to be out of the area. So, the consensus that a use permit is required, CEQA must be complied with, and so we'll ask staff to do a initial study to determine what impacts that we're being faced with, and what must be done if there are impacts to mitigate them to less than significant. Now, we need a motion on that, or can we just leave that as consensus? This is only.
What's the motion going to be? Is that it? You just made the motion?
Well, that's what I'm looking to have, would be declare that this use permit is needed, and then have staff do initial study for all the work that's going to be needed, if any. I mean, they could determine this is a exempt, or a couple of mitigations and have no problem. And then pick up the public assembly impacts, the outdoor dining, send this to fire, police, everybody, so this whole thing, this package is cleaned when it's approved.
Okay, so if we make that decision tonight, what about the Leal business? What can they do at this after tonight?
Anything that's legal.
Pardon me?
Anything that's legal.
Okay, so they can operate.
Well, public assembly is not included on this thing at this time. That's one of the things we're going to be doing, is checking out public assembly.
Okay.
Could he apply for a public assembly, a public?
I'll modify the use permit request. Like I said, I'd like to see everything on that one package. So when it gets signed, it needs to be squeaky clean. Because we still haven't had any major opposition to having the facility that he wants to have. I think it'd be a benefit to the city to have it, but only if it's done through the proper channels. Is there a consensus on this?
Yes.
Okay.
So
Staff?
do you need a event permit for Saturday? just because there's something already advertised, so I want to
I know.
know what.
That's an issue. I've never dealt with event permits.
If it's not a permitted use, that would be the normal course of things, I think, right?
Yeah.
See, because once that's put in the use permit, then number of times a year, whatever he wants to do, up to the maximum number of people that it can accommodate. That can be done with a, no, you're saying this event could be done with an
Event permit. Let's go forward with that too as well.
Temporary land use permit, you know?
So that's something staff can take care of? Or is that issue by the planning commission? Who does those?
We do those.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, then, I'll let you take care of that, and then pick up whatever's needed to amend that use permit request. Take any notice that are needed for that, and we'll proceed with the initial study and then get this show on the road. Any questions from the commission before we go too far?
Well, I was going to ask if is he even going to pursue it? I mean, is it worth doing this work if he's not going to go for a conditional use permit? I mean,
I'm not going to go
because
for it.
Well, bottom
'Cause he
line
stated
is, if
he's
he
not
doesn't
gonna
go
do
for a
it.
conditional use permit, all the stuff he's going to be doing on there is illegal,
Permitted
and
as a restaurant.
not public assemblies, and not,
Well, there's going to be 100 people there at the restaurant. How's that?
how many seats is he approved for?
100,
I'm approved
Okay.
for 100 seats.
Up to
So
100.
however you guys want to work this out, I'm permitted for a restaurant.
Did you not request a conditional use permit?
No, I don't need one.
Says a person can apply for a permit, a public gathering on private property, but first must obtain a community event permit from the city.
One use permit would keep him from having to get one
Yeah.
every weekend.
Right.
but he has to apply for it. So if he's not going to apply for it,
Okay, well, again, whatever the city measures are going to be, I think we should check this with the city attorney, but whatever measures are needed to achieve compliance is what the city's going to have to act on. But like I said, if it becomes a benefit not available to all persons similarly situated, we're violating the law ourselves.
and planning commission can revoke use permits. So just so you know, you have that power.
Okay. We'll leave it at that then?
Yes.
Okay. That was a consensus.
Anything new?
Comment.
I
Comment?
think we have new.
We had some.
Just pull it off of that thing. Oh, yeah.
First of all, I want to say that I think we are very lucky that Mr. Leal chose San Juan Bautista to initialize his hotel here. Okay? I think we are very lucky to have him. I don't think we need another lawsuit in San Juan. Okay? I do not think so. And if the man has been permitted to have a restaurant by the county, who are we to say that they can't? I don't understand this at all. I think it's totally out of hand. Okay? You need to figure out whether we are putting ourselves in jeopardy of getting sued because he has permits already. Whether we've got a little law that doesn't work, you know. I was city clerk here for a while too, and I happen to know we probably have a lot of laws that are in conflict with one another. Okay? But the issue is this. We are lucky to have him here. We continue to be adversarial to him. He will move. He will get his stuff and take his stuff and leave with his money because he will probably sue San Juan and we'll have another lawsuit on our hands. I disagree with this.
Thank you for your comments. And again, our staff will be dealing with our city attorney over issues of this kind. And let's see what happens. Okay, next item on the agenda. Consider Resolution 2015-XX adopting a notice of exemption for a minor lot division and construction of a new city water well number 4, 150 feet north of San Juan Hollister Road, 1,100 feet west of the intersection of Mission Vineyard Road and San Juan Hollister Road. Staff, post this.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman and members of the commission, I've passed out a little map that shows inadvertently that did not get in with the original staff report. That kind of gives you a perspective of where well number 2 and then where the new well number 4 will be. And then I've located well number 3 to show you that the current well number 3 is not connected to our distribution system because that still has high nitrates. But well number 2 functions as well as number 1. The purpose of the resolution is for the authorization to comply with the CEQA regulations and guidelines so that we can proceed to acquire the site and advertise and drill a new well at the location. The well number 2 is really a reconstruction and of an existing well that's going to be adjacent to in very close proximity to the existing well, and we call it well number 2A. Well number 4 will be in a new location, approximately 250 feet east of the Mission Vineyard Park, or RV Park, and north of the San Juan Hollister Road, approximately, 300 feet, I think, or 250, and that will be well number 4, which is number B on your agenda tonight. And by approving these, it will satisfy the CEQA guidelines under a notice of exemption of a minor subdivision to break off a 100 by 100 foot site, which is the minimum site for a new well, which is a 1/4 acre, and then to construct a new well by drilling it and getting the necessary water lines and electrical lines to it.
Okay, is anyone in the public would like to speak on either of these 2 well sites? Okay, there being no comments from the public. Commissioners?
I am ready to approve this. I don't have any questions about it.
No questions, no comments on my part either. Ready to approve.
Would you read the resolution title?
Make a motion?
No. Do we have a resolution for this?
One type.
Number 5, is that it?
Nope.
We don't have a 2015 XX for this?
We did that, yeah.
But we don't have a resolution. There's no resolution document.
There's no resolution in the packet, Trish. Last year.
Yeah, I thought, yeah.
In order to read off the motion for an approve?
Shoot, I thought I prepared all those things.
If you were to make a motion in the form of what's written on B and on C, to adopt a notice of exemption, you have the notice of exemption in the packet.
Okay.
Good question.
Well, can we simply just say, can adopt Resolution 2015-17, adopting notice of exemption for the water well number 4 project?
Sounds good to me.
For item B.
Yeah,
Yeah. So you just made a motion?
I think I did.
Okay.
So we'll call for the vote for,
I'll
You
second.
seconded, okay.
okay, for Resolution 2015 XX. 17, okay. You read the title? You read the whole thing?
Yeah, resolution, what was it?
17?
17, adopting a notice of exemption for a minor lot division and constructing new city water well number 4, 150 feet north of San Juan Hollister Road and 1,100 feet west of the intersection of Mission Vineyard Road and San Juan Hollister Road.
Call for the vote.
Commissioner Rivera?
Aye.
Commissioner Garrett is absent. Commissioner Maderos?
Aye.
Chairman Franco?
Aye.
With 3 members of the commission being present, the motion as stated by the maker passes unanimously.
Okay. So then we'll take C. Adopting notice of exemption for minor lot subdivision and replacement of existing city well number 2.
Right.
Okay. Does anyone in the public would like to speak on this second site? There being no takers. Commissioners? I think do the same thing, just read that as a resolution.
Do you have any comments? If not, I'll go ahead.
No, I don't have any comments.
Okay.
Then I move that we adopt Resolution 2015-18, adopting a notice of exemption for minor lots division and replacement of existing city water well number 2, 250 feet north of San Juan Hollister Road and 1,100 feet east of the intersection of the Alameda and San Juan Hollister Road.
I'll second it.
Call for the vote.
Commissioner Rivera?
Aye.
Commissioner Garrett is absent. Commissioner Maderos?
Aye.
Chairman Franco?
Aye.
With 3 members of the commission being present, the motion as stated by the maker passes unanimously.
Okay. Next item. Okay, we still don't have anybody from the,
Applicant for the Golden Wheel Antiques, 407 3rd Street.
No one in the audience. We'll continue that.
well, let's keep it going until the end of the meeting anyway. We'll keep it alive. Okay, then let's go for Harvey's lockup compliance list review. Staff?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, Steve Adair is in the audience. I've met with him. He's here to go over the matrix that we've allowed there and give you an idea of how he's proceeding. He gave me a copy of the contract, and I put it in with your addendum there of the, he has contracted with a firm that will complete the next phase of his sprinkler system, and that is geared for, I think, the first or second week in March, very shortly, and Steve will here to address that, and it's imminent. I've also indicated to him the desire of the commission and due to the fact that we've approved the Rancho Vista is to complete the sidewalk along 3rd Street is imperative so that we have continuity. The staff is working diligently on all segments of 3rd Street from the boundaries of the Rancho Vista to Monterey Street so that we have continuous sidewalk on both sides of the street. And so Steve's in the audience, and I think he can speak to it. Yeah.
Like to speak, sir?
Steve Adair, 27 Monterey Street. So the sidewalk on 3rd Street that we had landscaped last year, we're making plans to have the sidewalk put in this spring, summer. That'll be completed. We put a handicap access along 3rd and Church last fall. So that's all 4 corners have the handicap access. And as Roger said, we're in contract with AB Sprinkler Company out of Salinas to do the first phase. That would be the Monterey Street and 2nd Street side. They'll start that in the first or second week in March.
Okay. How long time do you think it'll take them to finish that job?
I don't know, they don't give me that figure. They probably don't want to be boxed in, but they said it's a lot of labor. So I imagine probably a 2-week period.
Okay, just curious.
Anything else?
Commissioners?
No comment. Oh, what about the cat situation? I noticed that I thought we were supposed to resolve that too as well.
Well, it's minimal. There's always a few cats running loose around the area, and it's minimal compared to what it was last year at this time.
Mm-hmm. I thought there was going to be some kind of barricade there because it looked like it's still open underneath there where it kind of invites all kinds of creatures to go in there.
No, there wasn't any agreement on that. I don't know where all the cats have gone. There used to be quite a number, but as much as I can tell, it's greatly reduced. I think there was somebody in the neighborhood feeding them out and back. There's bowls and everything left out there, and that person moved away, and so I think the cats population has gone down.
Okay.
It's not an issue that I know of with the cats.
Thank you.
And then the ones that we did, of course, a few that we know of, we had a number of them fixed last year when we were dealing with all this. Okay?
Okay.
Anyone in
Thank
the
you.
public would like to speak for or against this measure, this issue?
Yeah, Eric Gretisoff, 1108 3rd Street. I'm really glad to hear about the sidewalk. If you come up 3rd Street on that side, you've got to cross one direction to one side and back through. I don't know if anything in the paperwork has consideration for the structure. If you look underneath that thing, it looks like there are rotted boards and such. The feral cat issue looked like there was a handle on that, and I would say we walk through there fairly often, and I'm seeing an increase in cats over the last 3 or 4 months over there. So I would question whether that issue has been taken care of. And then I don't know if anything, it's my understanding, is this document from the original use permit for that? Okay. I don't know what's in that I haven't reviewed it, unfortunately, but there have been, over the last 6 or 8 months, I have seen trailers that have been parked there for weeks on end, getting both water and power from the building. Is that allowed in that use permit?
I cited one of them.
What kind of trailers?
Well, we had one Matt and I had talked about and worked on several months ago. And
No, tell the commission.
Oh, yeah, so there was a travel trailer that was parked there for, I would say, a better part of 3 or 4 weeks.
On 3rd?
On Church.
On Church.
Church, between 2nd and 3rd. But on the church backside, and it looked like there was both power and water being drawn from the building. So my question is the owner aware that was happening, and how do we make sure that doesn't happen in the future?
Is it permitted? So the answer is no.
Okay. So when we see those types of things, we should just go through the regular complaint, send it to the city, and have them address it.
But how do they get the power?
There's a cord coming from the building out to it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Would you care to respond? If only if you want to.
The person that had the trailer was a tenant of ours, a contractor that worked out of the area quite often, and sometimes between jobs he would come and stay there for his next job. And so I allowed him to hook up his cord. But then he was cited, and and he moved it out. So that's been about 3 months ago. So there isn't any trailers at all around our property. If anything stays there too long, it seems like the sheriff puts a notice on the vehicle and it's moved. So there's nothing that I know of or am aware of, and I watch it very closely.
I just wanted to give you the opportunity to clear
He
the air.
does, he does under condition 7 of the conditional approval, is an existing outdoor storage, in the area there is accessible to where it can take and park large trucks and use for storage and business customers, and the parking shall be temporary use only. So
Right,
it's
they have a
allowed, yeah.
72-hour
Yeah.
limit on stuff like this.
Is temporary what, 72 hours?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Anyone else in the public like to comment on this thing, for or against, or in between? Okay, nobody? Commissioners, any other comments you'd like to make regarding this?
The biggest questions I have are those under the issue of fire department. And so on the second page of this matrix, under fire department, item 3, in the category of incomplete, it has 5/8 of an inch. So and that's in a number of columns. So what does that mean? Is it 5/8?
5/8 gypsum board is a 1-hour rated wall.
Okay, but why is that in the column for incomplete? Is it complete or is it incomplete? Has it been done or not?
Yeah, he's got the 5/8 going up, but it then has to go up through the diaphragm, and there's some sections that have to be extended up there. So it's just a matter of him to extend it up there. When they finish the sprinkler system, then they will go in and encapsulate around the piping, so then it'll have the fire break.
Okay.
Yeah,
Well,
and that-
this project was approved in 2009. We're in 2015 now, so ongoing can't go on forever.
Yeah.
And I think that those fire issues have to be probably prioritized.
And I think that's why Steve has got under contract to make sure that we push for the fire sprinklers, so that then we can finish doing the diaphragms up there for the section areas where the fire will not spread all the way up through the roof membrane.
Okay, that's good.
Okay. Any other comments?
Nope, I'm good.
I'm just glad to see that we got progress in the right direction on this thing. And again, to preserve the legitimate business in the city. Okay then, we'll just give us another quarterly report and we'll
Thank you.
go with the next item. Thank you, sir. Okay. Review of the landscaping plan for the brewery project.
Okay, now, what,
Do we have an applicant here tonight?
no, Mr. Hippolito is not here this evening. He was pouring concrete till about 5 o'clock today, and so, yeah. But what I found is that when we went through, I found a street tree data sheet, and then I also found another one that was more recent, and I'll pass this out here to you, and some of them, the first one that I had Xeroxed all of the plants and everything and attached it. This one here is a little bit there, and I don't know which one is valid and which one isn't, because there's no date on it in terms of when they were adopted and stuff like that. And however, the decisions of the type of trees that are going into and the shrubberies that are going into it is really at the discretion of the Planning Commission.
Well, there's this plan that they've
Yeah.
put out, and they're asking us whether we approve this, or?
Well, we've looked at the irrigation system, and it pretty much is sufficient to irrigate the proposed development. On the second page is the type of trees that they're going to put in.
Okay.
And they have 15-gallon California peppers, pink myrtles, Chinese pistachio, fern pines, and the red buds. And now the question, and that's why I Xeroxed all of the stuff from the tree glossary so that you can kind of get an idea of the height of some of the trees, like the red bud will grow up about 25 feet, and it'll have a canopy of spread out. And so that was the background that I tried to give you an indication of what it is.
Excuse me, do you have a copy we could post to the public?
Of these?
It's in our binder.
Oh, okay, no problem
Yeah.
then.
Not the map, I'm sorry, but
Just
the
this
tree
one?
list.
I was thinking of the picture.
Yeah.
Okay.
Georgiana, maybe, do you know when this was compiled, this one-page sheet of approved street trees?
I don't know how far it got.
We only talked to people in the back row, so
Yeah.
thank you.
I don't know how far the approval got, but I remember that it was during the time when Janet Flintoff was the chairperson.
Okay, so that wasn't that
Yeah.
long ago.
Manager, and we worked with Anita Kane, who is working now, and we saw her in the last.
Okay, at Christopher Ranch, yeah.
And she recalls when we did that, so she might have some information.
Okay, thank you.
So there's, on the first one that I had put, there's 21 trees.
Yeah.
And on this one here, I think there's 16, isn't, yeah.
And it looks like that was, the source was Hollister Street Tree List from 98.
Yeah.
I like the choices. How I had a Chinese pistache that I loved, but it died.
Yeah.
I don't know if they're...
And they, during the winter, they turn brilliant
they're
orange
beautiful.
and red,
Yeah,
beautiful, yes.
Yeah, ours just like overnight
Yeah.
wilted and... But I like the idea of the peppers because there were pepper trees there.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the existing 13 in the corner of the driveway there, and 15 are the 2 pepper trees that are right in the corner.
The only ones I was looking at was the fern pine, number 15. And, you know, those are right on the Alameda.
Right along the Alameda.
Yeah, and the only thing I had questioned at is that a big tree?
Yeah, that could get,
And do we want a big tree right there on Main Street? I mean, that's the only thing that I had. Everything else seemed to be
and more
ideal.
appropriate would probably be, like Vanda said, would be 14.
There's a pine tree there
Chinese
now.
pistachios out there would give you a brilliant color. And-
If they hold up, though. I know Lowe's parking lot has them, and they've lost them, too.
yeah.
So I think this landscape architect is, I know he's in San Jose, I think he's also in Watsonville. Our climate's a little bit different than those two areas.
Yeah. And then the other aspect is there's always the Corcus, the oaks,
Oh,
both
yeah, those-
live
that's
oak
another
and,
good one,
and
yeah.
those are always good, and they're natural trees of this area.
I was hoping Richard might be here tonight to tell us what trees he remembers. Is there still an oak on the property? Oh,
That's a pine, isn't it?
I think it's a,
That's there now.
It was an apricot we had to take down. It was diseased back there there. And then there's a one on the Franklin side.
a buckeye?
Buckeye, yeah. Which is not on our list.
Yeah, it's not there.
And they were going to take it down, and I said, no, we want to leave it there.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. It's
Does the audience have any comments?
Mariana Thomas, 45 Monterey Street. I suggest that you really take some time to guide this decision, because, for example, when I walk on 4th on Las Puertas, those huge trees, and evidently the Thanis were advised by a tree expert to plant them. Okay, no matter how much they prune them, it's really a messy look on the sidewalk and the entire area from the building to the sidewalk. There are trees that are appropriate to this area, and on 4th also, we have 4 other trees actually on right when you turn off of Monterey that are, I think, a hazard. But I think, especially since we have Sunset Magazine in Palo Alto, who know all of these environments. I think we could consult so we don't have a hodgepodge, and that we start really consciously planting, especially something of as long duration as a tree, consciously planting trees that are appropriate to their environment. I would really urge you to take time about deciding, because what I notice people do is they just put things in and it doesn't work. Thank you.
Thank you.
And I agree with Mary Ann is that in that list there where you look down the height, and when they say that a tree could get up to 70, 80 feet, that's probably not appropriate. And then the spread, if you get a tree that like the acert there, it spreads to 40 to 80 feet, and that's not appropriate. So we have to pick and choose the ones that are not going to inundate the building. I would say is that if you want, there's no hurry on it because they're still doing the construction, the curb, and there's plenty of time. I was interested in making sure that in the parking lot that irrigation lines, we put irrigation lines across on all of them so that they can, because the controller is going to be on the brewery building and the main water outlet is going to be there, and then it'll be distributed throughout the whole irrigation system. So I think there's a total of 6 crossings from the parking lot from east to west. So there's adequate provisions there so we can get the irrigation to the thing. It's not a question of selecting the appropriate trees and shrubberies.
I concur with the speaker, though. The appropriate trees for the particular zone that we're into, and the zones are pretty much, like she said, identified by Sunset. But and they're pretty well recognized. But again, trees that say are going to die in a frost, simply if we, for instance, if somebody put up a Japanese maple, I'd have to oppose it. I mean, they will not take the wind. They just burn on the ends, and then they don't look good, and then they finally die on you. So I concur to at least tell the applicant to take that into consideration, because we'll be looking at that a lot closer when it gets to that time.
Well, why can't we get a list that we can approve? That the public has input on it, what have you.
And I have to say that maybe that second list that I passed out there is probably the preferred, more preferred list than the first one.
I think we should consult with Nato Javi Sandoval, who's a landscape architect.
And landscape architect, and have them give their recommendation to the things, because I think it's important that you take a look at, this is going to be in the gateway, and particularly in front of the building. The trees along the edge in the back have a little bit more discretion there, but particularly along the Alameda, it's really important.
Are these low water irrigation
Yes.
that we're using?
Yeah. Drought resistant. Yeah.
You were talking about the water system too as well. Is there going to be a purple pipe there?
The purple pipe does not go down to this location, no. We don't have it. It's down the street for the school, but it's not at this location here. The purple pipe goes down 4th Street, and then there was a lateral right there at the Windmill Market that went over to the school, and then it goes under the highway and clear over to the Alameda and the Hollister San Juan Road, where it ends. Unfortunately, a purple vine was never extended up into the plaza area either. We have it at the Creek Bridge, the Lux Library, Abbey Park, and then it runs the entire length of the 4th Street, and then there's a lateral for the school and under the highway, and then it goes over to.
Is it operating yet?
It's functional. We've had it fired up, but we're meeting with the Regional Water Quality Control Board to go over the testing and monitoring requirements.
So the school property doesn't have a purple pipe?
It has a lateral to it, but they haven't hooked it up and distributed it to their system. So it's the distribution system is in, you know, the basic
Yeah.
core of it and everything, and even the cemetery has expanded their purple line all through theirs, and so they're available to have reclaimed water at the Lux Library, the Abbey Park, the Creek Bridge subdivision, and the cemetery.
We have a comment.
Is there a public comment? Somebody would like to make a comment?
We know you just want all crepe myrtles.
Franklin. This whole project is visible from every room in my house, so I'm vitally interested in it. But my comments are related to two other issues. One is that during the process of giving my immediate neighbors the ability to build on their property, the Horley property, the Planning Commission insisted that they could not cut down one of the trees. It is a redwood tree, and it is dead now, or dying. So how does the owner of a piece of property eliminate a tree that someone has insisted on them leaving there when there's no way to reach that tree except by having someone climb it? It's a very serious problem. Besides, it might fall on my house. The other is this: when you're talking with someone developing a plan for these trees, please insist that they evaluate the tree for mistletoe. Mistletoe is a crisis here in San Juan, and I don't know how we will address it, but having a list of trees that will not be susceptible to mistletoe is very important. Thank you.
Good point.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, that puts a lot of information for the landscape architects.
A lot. And
City.
if the Planning Commission directs us, we will take this plan and then we will refer it to, I would say, 2 landscape architects and get, opinions and recommendations from 2 different sources, and then that'll, rather than just one. Yeah.
Do you know Harvey Sandoval?
Yes.
Yeah, I think he'd be good to consult with.
Yeah. And then I think I'll probably ask Anita Kane to...
Yeah.
The other thing too is you might ask them, point specific, there's a list of trees, which ones will grow in San Juan Bautista under the conditions that we have.
Yeah.
I haven't seen any jacarandas up here up north.
We got one on the 7th Street, across the street.
Really?
And incidentally, all of the photos that I gave you of all the trees, and then back they have various zones. I didn't Xerox the zones that were applicable to, but that came out of the Sunset Western magazine. Yeah.
I think we have another comment.
Is there another public comment?
Karen Gretasoff, 1108 3rd Street. Just a quick on the trees. I love the California pepper trees, but my mom had one at her home in Prunedale. To clean up, very messy and very shallow roots. So if it's going to be anywhere in a walking area, maybe making sure that if they are put in a walking area, that it's not messing up with the concrete or the sidewalk.
Or that we require them to do deep watering, because that's the problem. If we don't deep water, then the roots are shallow.
And then it just my concern as a resident would be the aesthetics of it for cleanup, just making sure that if that is one of the trees, they are gorgeous trees, they smell beautiful, but they're horrible in cleanup. So
that's another good point.
Yep.
Thank you.
Good point. Yeah.
Especially in a commercial area where people are going to be walking on it.
Yep.
If somebody trips, that's another issue.
Can I ask one more quick question?
No.
Sure. We can vote on it.
Please, pretty please. What is the proposed timeline to be able to grab a class of suds at the brewery? Is there a proposed timeline for the opening of the...
We don't even know if it's going to be a brewery.
Taking a literal translation.
Yeah.
Oh, never mind.
However, there is a brewery coming to town.
Yeah, we're working with another brewery
Yeah.
that will be coming in somewhere, but
Yeah.
No, that was an issue. They had a big gap. They're behind schedule, and I think gave us because they had problems with their intellectual properties between the engineers, the architects, and the owners. So we're just glad that they're back to working at it again and asking the right kind of questions with trees. Okay. Any other comments, commissioners, on this?
No, a lot of good information. Thanks for your
Yep.
input.
Yeah, thank you.
And again, the deciduous versus evergreen, it's an important feature.
Yeah. Okay, where are we now? Let's see the brewery. Discussion items. There's something called the general plan that Matt's going to tell us about.
yeah. So the night before I went to Hawaii on February 18th, I held the 6th public meeting on the 2035 general plan update. The meeting also served as a scoping meeting for the environmental impact report. So basically it was another chance for the public to give feedback. I was mainly trying to solicit any sort of negative feedback on the general plan and things that might need to be changed or things that were in there erroneously, as well as any sort of environmental aspect of San Juan Bautista that might be affected by the new general plan, so that I could refer that information on to the Cal Poly students working on the EIR right now. The meeting had 19 participants. We held it at the VFW, post 6359. And I did a short presentation just in case there were a couple people there who hadn't been to meetings, and I wanted to make sure they were familiar with what a general plan was, first of all, and then what environmental impacts are and all the rest. Got everybody up to speed, and then we broke into 3 groups, and I had them do individual group discussions on strengths, weaknesses, and then the environmental impact report. I think we had a really good discussion. There was, I went and sort of listened / participated at every group, and there were definitely a lot of good, lively discussions. Not all of it on things that we could really address with the general plan meeting, but it was good to see people participating in a public forum like that. And I'd like to thank everybody who came out. A few of them are here tonight. And yeah, I'm gonna basically, I took note of the things that I could change, and then I've already compiled a list that most of which I attached to the thing here, so you can see what the topics were, that I will forward on tomorrow night after the deadline. I gave people a 2-week deadline after the meeting that they could still submit comments. So after that lapses tomorrow, I'll send it on to the Cal Poly students. So.
Looks like there's lots more weaknesses than strengths.
Yeah. Well, that's what I wanted. I said only take a couple minutes on strengths.
Yeah, okay.
I know what's good about it. So yeah.
It did provide me a good insight when we're doing our 5-year capital improvement program and scheduling improvements throughout the city. That some of those comments were very important, or we can program into that.
I had every intention of going. I had it on my calendar. I don't know how I missed it, but it was an important meeting, and I'm sorry I wasn't there.
That's right. I've already received some comments from you anyway through email. So.
Okay.
Anyone in the public would like to comment on his report or ask any questions regarding the general plan? There being none,
Wait,
you would like to comment.
I was there, what was it, a Thursday night? Or?
Wednesday.
Wednesday night, thank you. Thank you, and we did have some great discussions.
Your name for the record?
Oh, John Freeman, 22 North Street. And so anyway, one of the things I tried to emphasize was that for further development, both commercial, industrial, and residential, one of the things we really need to look into infrastructure is things like high-speed internet, fiber optics, that type of stuff. There's a kind of a policy that you, as planning commissioners, might want to consider someday. It's called a one-dig policy, and when you're redoing a road or putting in pipe of any kind, make the ditch a little bigger and put in all kinds of pipe.
All at once. That's a good idea.
Mainly conduits for fiber optics and other things, and purple pipe. So you don't have to go back and dig the road up 3 or 4 times, which is the most expensive part of it. And then when a person like Google says, oh, we want to put fiber optic in San Juan, which will never happen, but you can say there's a conduit right there and go to it. So
that's a good point, John, and we have that in our engineering specifications, that when we do the underground electrical, and that goes through PG&E and telephone, AT&T, and then we always reserve a space for our purple line, as well as additional conduits for broadband and communication systems.
Okay, great.
Those are in there, extra conduits for that same purpose.
Sounds like we're on the same page now.
Good.
Thank you.
Good to know.
What do they call that?
A one big policy.
One day, but I think there was something else they called it.
That's what I call it.
Yeah, I can't remember the nomenclature they used on it, but it was for that same purpose, yeah.
Okay, is there no other comments on that? We'll go to the next item. Wayfinding update. Are we lost?
Not a whole lot happening on that. There's no document there. There wasn't anything important until actually the day after when we put the packets together. So I jumped on a conference call with Sim SBC COG, anyway, with COG, and talked a little bit about this with the company who's putting the wayfinding plan together. And they had a few questions about our questions, and we sort of went back and forth, and we're just trying to make sure that, you know, the wayfinding within municipalities like San Juan Bautista is consistent with the rest of the stuff throughout the county. So that's most of what that discussion revolved around, and where we might want to simply use iconography instead of lots of words on signs. So yeah, that's where we are now. We sort of went back and forth with questions, and the creators of the report are now going to take all of our things into consideration, change some of the maps, and then they're going to get back with another draft of it. So.
Great.
Iconography, is that a new word?
Huh?
I like that.
Iconography.
Yeah.
And so I actually put together a little icon of the bell tower to possibly use on one of those signs. So I think that might be something we could use. So.
The belfry.
Belfry.
Yeah, that's, I mean, when your big corporations, you never see the word McDonald's. You just see two golden arches, and immediately you know what it is.
Mm-hmm.
However, with the belfry, it could be any one of the missions.
It's true.
We've got to find.
So I'll come back to you guys when I get the next
Okay.
draft of that. So.
Sounds good. Next item, secondary units.
Yeah, and I just wanted to follow up and need a little direction. Do you want to proceed on that, or just leave it the way it is, the 600 versus something you modified it to?
Are we looking at this for the Rancho Vista project? Is this a concern for that, or?
No, it came up on a couple projects downtown where they wanted to put a secondary unit in there, and they wanted something a little bit bigger than 600. You know, so I told them I'd bring it to the commission, and it's up to them to take a look at it and see. You know.
On one hand, I don't think it's a bad idea because so many of our lots are deep,
Deep, yes.
and
exactly.
that seems to make good use of the land. On the other hand, I hate to fill up the entire property with structure.
Housing.
Yeah.
Structures.
And then later on in the evening, there's another one under E that we'll talk about. Is something that I just want you guys to think about over there. But again, it gets bound down to the secondary unit. Originally, it was the Granny Flat Ordinance. It was created back in, 78 or something like that, or 85, you know. And the state says that a jurisdiction cannot deny a secondary unit. You can control the size of it, you know, and the location of it. It has to be so close to the building and it's so far away. Like Santa Clara County, they were putting secondary units 400 or 500 feet away from the primary. This is no, it's got to be within 150 feet, you know, restrictions like that. So it's a question now of where does the local jurisdiction want to do and how they want to accommodate it. And Ben had brought up a good point last time, is when you get too many bedrooms, then you get too many cars. Mm-hmm. It's counterproductive to what we're trying to make this a more walkable community rather than an automobile-oriented community.
Mm-hmm.
We can always bring this up later. I mean, there's no urgency.
Yeah.
I think it's something, I agree though, we should be thinking about it.
Yeah.
Because with our housing element, trying to provide affordable housing and special needs housing, I think too, is what these things would be perfect.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I think we should keep in mind that they should be single story, because we have a two-story, and it's really, it prohibits a lot of
Oh, yes, yeah,
possibilities.
absolutely, yeah, right, yeah.
So why don't we, are we ready for a public hearing on this thing, or think we should do some more discussions on it?
More discussions, you know,
Okay.
yeah.
Well,
But
let's
I'd
get,
just like to get the juices going and thinking about it, and then as time goes on, you say, hey, what about this, what about that? And ideas breed ideas, and that's
true.
key.
a good chance if you have others, if you know of other cities that have them,
Yeah.
well, how do they regulate them? And then we would pick out the best for our city. Okay, that's good. Does anyone like to comment on secondary dwelling units? Ma'am?
Mariana Thomas, 45 Monterey Street. Just listening to you and realizing the two houses that were built down from me on Monterey, and with a rent of $2,350 for each one, and they're not rented yet. So I'm glad that the 1% isn't moving here real fast. But I think having secondary units on a deep lot, a unit on a deep lot, a little tiny cottage. When I first moved to Pacific Grove in the 70s, one could find a small cottage, small, just, studio size, for very reasonable rent. That is so difficult to find anywhere now. And we have to consider that many people cannot afford $1,500 or $2,000 for rent. Certainly people in Palo Alto and San Francisco are having a boom because of the dot-commers who can afford those rents. But even if we had those people coming here, I think we have an obligation to provide for people individual housing, where people don't have to rent a room, individual housing where they can spend their retirement, or if they're a student, find a quiet place to study. So I would urge you to really approve a great number of these.
Thank you. It's a good point.
Yep.
That's why I always felt that affordable housing should be controlled for a minimum of 20 years at best, and using a manager like, say, a housing authority or somebody who's dealing with the values, the government established values for affordable housing. That kind of an organization would keep track of it for you, and we could make it work. Okay. No other comments on secondary dwellings? Okay. Fencing.
Just kind of, more food for thought and give us direction. And I know the issue came up of the stucco fence, a stucco fence, or is it a wall?
Yeah.
The Great Wall.
Discussions, yeah.
Yeah. I haven't really had a chance to pursue it.
Continue it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Before we do that, does anybody want to speak on fencing? Okay, we'll be taking it up at a later time. Okay, minimum lot size for affordable housing need.
Yeah. Now this one here was something that has been dear to my heart for years, because ever since I was a young person, just started on planning, every city I go to, the minimum standard is 6,000 square foot lots, or 7,000. That's the postage stamp, and you can't go below that and everything. But over the course of the years, I see where people can develop a 45 or a 5,500 square foot lot and build a smaller house, and they're very capable of living environments, yards and backyards, side yards, and yet the houses are smaller and they sell for less. And I wanted you to start thinking about it is that we don't need a postage stamp 7,000 for every lot that we're creating. Maybe there's a point in our zoning areas where we can get by with some smaller lots, and where conversely they'll build smaller homes. Now, I personally grew up in a 900 square foot house, 6 of us, and that was a standard in the 1940s. But if you tried to sell a 900 square foot house today, you're not going to get too far, you know. But a 1500 or 1450, two bedroom is very functional. It's not a luxury, but it's a Spartan thing, and I've seen them, and I've designed a lot of them in that category, you know, and they sell for less.
It's the trend, I think.
Yeah, it is a trend, yeah. I know there's jurisdictions, and when I was in business in the Bay Area up there, and particularly Willow Glen, they were buying these lots and building monster homes, and just big monster homes. And finally, Willow Glen had to put a stop to it, and they put a ban on these monster homes.
Yeah, good.
And you see a lot of it's happening now in Redwood City too.
Monster homes.
Wow. Like mansions.
Yep.
Yeah, mansions, yeah.
Okay, does anybody want to?
Get you guys to think about it, you know. There's no need or rush to get into it. It's just, there's probably an opportunity. And as I've been going around, and Matt and I've been looking at our assessor maps, and I've been calculating, there are a lot of little smaller lots that are substandard, less than 7,000 square feet in the old part of town, you know. A lot of 5,500 and 4,800 square foot lots, you know. And they're beautiful little small homes.
Does anybody like to speak about lot sizes for affordable housing?
I'll speak up. Eric Redissoff, 1108 3rd Street. Our home does happen to be a technically an attached R2, but it's only on a 4,200 square foot lot.
Attached single?
Huh? Attached single, yeah. At the garage, there's no living space attached. And I mean, I'll tell you from a maintenance point of view, it's pretty simple. Would I like a sliver more space? Sure. And our house, because it's 2-story, happens to be, you know, I think we're a little over 1,900 square feet. But one of the benefits of that size property is it allowed us to afford our first home together. So when we were looking in nearby neighborhoods, I think the smallest lot we looked at was 5,500 square feet. And although that's nice and a lot of lawn to mow and such, I think having that smaller size so that people who might not be able to afford, you know, several $100,000 over what we spent would be beneficial. I mean, there's money spent does not necessarily mean you're getting a better quality resident. That's not a knock against people who make more money and can afford it. I guess more to my point is people who maybe don't have the high-tech job and make hundreds of thousands of dollars a year are still outstanding people to keep within the community. And I think, you know, right in line with 4,000 or 5,000 square foot lots, smaller home. I mean, we probably have more home than we need by several hundred square feet. So yeah, it's definitely consideration, and you know, it's always nice to have a full range of people in different salary brackets, and that would help along.
And I think Eric hit upon it, is design diversity, and that's
yep. Yeah.
The design diversity gives you that mix.
Sure.
I think that's already built into San Juan too, as well.
Yeah.
So historically, we're there.
Okay, thank you. There no other comments on housing? We'll go to the next item. Strategic Planning Committee report. You're
Hi.
designated.
Yes, I am. I'm here, but I see that John Freeman's here. I wonder if he would like to, why he's staying here so late tonight with us. Maybe he would like to get up and talk about our last meeting that we had on February the 10th.
Too long ago for me to remember.
Oh, come on. I got my notes here if you want.
I don't have my notes, but I'll gladly fill in with what I think.
You can do a team effort.
Okay, well, we did have a meeting on the 10th, and since then there's been a lot of there's been some things that have gone with the activities as far as the Strategic Planning Committee goes. But we did again, talked about the farmer's market idea, and that's still on hold, being that we didn't have the right people there at the time. We also had a discussion on a mission statement, which was put together by, I mean, not put together, but we talked about that, and there was a committee, a subcommittee that was put together for that, and since then, they have met. They met last Thursday, I believe it was. Yes, and I was supposed to go to that, but I didn't make it. I had something like the flu or something like that day. So, but they did meet, and a mission statement is in the works. I think a lot of the original notes that we had previous from other subcommittees that were put together, that's being used as well. So we're going over all that. Also, the subcommittees of the Art, Culture, and Recreation and Wellness Subcommittee, they also got together. They had some input about the soccer field that's going in. The soccer field that we're talking about, putting in some trails there for, and a fitness trail or whatever they call that. There was some discussion there, but not too much on that. Also, we talked about the Verudi Park fundraiser, which is happening this weekend. Already. Government Communications Subcommittee, we talked about the, we are having the Youth Commission, or the Youth Committee, Subcommittee, has gotten together, and we have already started the Youth Commission. Yes, go ahead.
Let me add a little to that.
Okay. Which one?
We're to the Youth Commission.
Okay.
We're now accepting applications into the City Hall. We have, as of this morning, I believe 2. That's correct. And tomorrow, several people from the committee are going to an ASB, Associated Student Body, Assembly at Anzar High, where we hope to corral a few more. And other than that, I've tried to do a little, I guess polite word would be recruitment. So I think we have some more coming in. But I think that's going very well, actually. And as to the mission statement, yeah, 4 of us met last Thursday night, and it's in the works. We're gonna wait and get you and your great ideas, and we're gonna merge them all together, and it will just be perfect. We hope.
And then also, they're also looking for for the Youth Commission, a leader.
Yes, we need one leader, facilitator, whatever.
Facilitator, right?
Whatever word.
Advisor.
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 You know. That's what it says on the
So
application.
that's in the works too as well.
Okay. I know one person's going to apply for that, and she would be great, but I think we need a few more to choose from.
So the deadline was this Friday, and they've now pushed it to April 10th.
That's correct.
So, yeah.
Thank you for that. Anything else? Let's see. We did get together with there was a lively discussion in the last meeting with when it came to the historical plan, San Juan Bautista historical plan, that we were asked, there was a subcommittee was asked, the historical group was to come up with, go through and review that. We did do that and brought it to this last meeting, and there was a lively discussion in that we are going to, now that we have reviewed it, we're going to make sure that everything that was in the old plan will be in the new strategic plan. We also realized that it is not a historical plan, but just a strategic plan in itself. So it's really kind of title misleading. So that's also being addressed.
And we moved it on the website into the planning tab.
Okay.
Right.
In case people don't know, that was one of the things Vanda wanted. So we got Connie moved that, but we also left a link there, so if you happen to go where you used to look at it, if anyone used to look at it, they can now click on that link and go to the one under the planning tab. So.
Okay.
Also, we had some discussion as far as green city, as far as San Juan's concerned. So there was some discussion there, but there was nothing as far as any plans as to and nothing really came out of that other, we had some discussion. And that's pretty much it, what we had on that last meeting. Any questions?
Our next meeting is a week from tonight.
A week from tonight.
Right here?
And we are still looking for more people to join us, I believe.
I think we could use one or two more.
Yeah. There was also discussion as to why the parking lot at the Mission is not being used. So we're still looking at, there's a subcommittee is going to look into that and see where we need to go with that as far as the Mission is concerned. That's it. Anything else? Any questions?
I'm good.
Thank you.
Thank you. Let's see what else we got on this agenda here. Hey, guess what? Oh, does anybody want to speak on the strategic planning program? Okay. Next item be future agenda items. What do you want to talk about in the future? Okay, we've got already the...
What are we going to do about this Carnaggio sign?
Oh, hey, you're right. That item was on the agenda, and we pushed it to the end of the meeting. And
Yes.
there is nobody representing the Carnaggios.
Right.
Bottom line is that sign is illegal. It's without a permit. And what action should be taken?
What was our last action? What was the last?
He didn't show at the last meeting.
No, I understand that, but we asked staff to get with the applicant and put a plan together as to where we're going to go, and now we have a permit that we're going to entertain at this point in time, of which we don't have the applicant here to serve it.
And I met with him last week and told him that, gave him a copy of the staff report, and I told him that if you feel that you want that sign, you have to demonstrate that it meets the sign ordinance and it's the same size as you permitted before. We went and measured it, and it's exactly the same size, I think, within an inch, stuff like that. But the old one was subdued and green and stuff like that. This is much brighter. And how are you going to address that? So I was surprised that was last week, and I didn't touch base with him yesterday or today.
Comments?
Yeah, let's find out. Anyone in the public would like to speak on this matter? The Carnaggio sign permit at what the address here?
407 3rd
407
Street.
3rd Street, yes. Is there any public comment? Okay.
I will make contact to make sure that he's here.
Did you want to? Now's the time. Good, bad, or indifferent.
I have an idea. Mariana Thomas. I know you have been, and I commend you for this, not that you need that from me, to make these, what do you call them, requirements, etc., make them respected and apply to everyone. And I really look forward for that happening in the entire town, and everybody respecting you and the management and their community by paying attention and obeying the regulations. However, I think once something is done, as this is, I see the sign often. I've had several encounters with that family, not all of them pleasant. And I look at the sign, and of course you can see that, you can see it. You can see it. It will fade. The other sign perhaps had been there for a long time and had faded. This one will fade. It's already there. I think if we can avoid a confrontation and then have very clear regulations for all businesses from now on about signs, and really deliver to each business regulations that the city has power over that concern their business. This is definitely, people will say, we're not Carmel, but this is what Carmel does. this is what Pacific Grove does, and we have to get there so that it's equal respect for regulations from everybody. So when a business applies, they should get that. And the ones who don't have it now, if they really refuse to look at, they should still get that. But in this case, I think it's awful to put the onus on you to have to deal with a recalcitrant business person where the sign is already there. And I know perhaps the reason it is there, business has not been great for real antiques, so, you know, a loud sign goes up, but it will fade.
Thank you.
Thank you.
There's a comment that, and a strategy used for this, it's easier to ask for forgiveness than ask for permission. And I just hate to see the laws of the ordinance of the city bypassed using that tactic. I think my thoughts on this matter are, we'll continue it one more time, and if the applicant does not appear to work with us, then we would ask the city attorney to get an order to remove it at the owner's expense. I mean, it's an illegal sign, and so if he won't take it down, again, that's an economic advantage over other persons similarly situated, and I'm not forgiving that.
You know, I felt the same way, but I've given this a lot of thought. And I think that they really thought that the permit they had would get them through the next sign. And when they applied for the new permit and paid their money, I think they thought that was it. And we changed that on the sign ordinance. We recognized, I think, that somebody might think that if they just fill out the sign permit, pay their money, then they're good to go. So I have had second thoughts about it.
You had second thoughts in its removal or stay?
The process
I mean,
didn't
we're
go
going to end
well.
up doing one or the other.
This didn't go well.
But that shouldn't be an excuse to let it go by, because it's a difficult one.
I
We're
know
up
that.
here to make decisions.
I know that. And I believe everybody should come forward and apply for a permit. But I think that they had a permit and they thought that one was still good.
Let me reiterate to the family and let them know and encourage them to make sure that they're here the next time.
Good.
We have a comment?
Yeah. Comments from the public?
Just one real quick one. Whether you get a permit or pay for a permit or had a permit, there's still laws and ordinances that still have to be abided by. So just because you get a permit doesn't mean, oh, I can make the sign bigger. It's just, there's still laws underneath that of getting the permit that still have to be abided by. So when somebody comes and gets a garage sale sign and they have to put them up, they have to make sure it's visible. That's what you have to do. You don't just throw it in by the wayside. It's part of the permit process, and there's underlying laws to that. So
It's the process established by approved by the city council.
Correct.
Actually, I saw something today, I think it was on AARP, tips for flying to make it easier. And one of them is to be informed, know what the laws are, and don't let yourself get into a position where you're not complying. So my problem is I can see both sides.
And Matt and I have thought about that very seriously once the council approves the final thing there. We got to get into a program where we make that available to all the merchants and things. And then we've talked about even when they apply for a business license, that the new ordinance is given to them, the do's and don'ts. We're going to have a kind of a poop sheet of explaining
good.
Putting it into lay person's terms.
See, what's unique about this sign is it's in a historical district. And we have some very, very serious concerns in the city's design guidelines. And this sign doesn't meet those requirements. Okay. Anybody else would like to speak on this one?
I think our mayor.
Sir. Oh, can I ask one question before? Was our sign ordinance adopted?
It's be in front of the commission, I think.
It's not on the agenda.
Agenda for the 17th.
For the 17th.
Oh, good. We have been working on that thing for over 4 years, sir.
No pressure.
And we have done everything. I can't tell you the number of meetings.
I'm just one of five, so.
But being the top guy, we have made everything possible to let everybody know and invite them. Everything short of holding their hands and bringing them in. We've had meetings at 9 o'clock in the morning for several months over the last 4 years. We have had meetings over at Dona Esther so that the business people could be, since they were going to be there, we had a meeting, a special meeting at the site so everybody would get to know what's happening. And so now we really want to see this thing through because it is making it easier for people to understand the regulations and to and very, very open.
Yeah, I think it'd be great if we had, anytime somebody applies for something, that we have an information packet, and have them sign off.
Yeah.
On it.
You want your business permit, you get everything.
Then that would save a lot of times. Well, I have a permit, or I was told I was to do this. Well, everything's right here. You signed off on it, and then that'll probably just save a lot more time.
Yep.
In all applications, business license, sign ordinance, everything. So do that. But appreciate it. Thanks.
Well, good.
Thank you.
Yeah, as soon as we get a sign ordinance, then you'll be able to do all the packets, and because right now, if you did it, you'd have to work with the old one.
Yeah.
And 2 hearings from now, we'll be able to get this thing done.
We're working on the framework.
Good. Okay. The items we had were the 2 that we talked about, lot sizes and fencing, secondary units. So we'll see those off and on as we come up with more information. Are there other items you'd like to talk about in the future?
Not that I can think of.
Commissioner? Okay.
No.
So do we have any comments from the planning commissioners?
As usual, I thank the public for coming and speaking and sharing their thoughts and concerns that we try to incorporate.
I'm just still thinking about the sign. I mean, I want to say something about it. I mean, I've seen the sign. I'm just disappointed that we don't have the applicants here to talk to and work with them. But I'm sure the city staff will take care of that, and we'll get a solution to all of this, and everybody will be happy in the near future. So I'm looking forward to that. So. And I also want to thank everybody for being here tonight and staying to the very last minute, which is, we've got to hear your side of the story. I mean, we're here for you, not for us, but for all of us here in San Juan Bautista. So next time, bring a friend, please, because we need more input. We really do.
Bring a young friend.
Because we represent all of you, not just a few of you. So I'd like to see more people here.
I want to, Mr.
You're
Fulton, I'd
invited.
like to see you before you leave tonight for a minute. Okay?
Did you get that?
I have a comment for you when we're done. No, Bob, Mr. Fulton. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, we got
No.
to talk more about trees and bushes and things like that. So
yeah.
it's important.
I have an agenda item too.
Okay.
I think we really should put that section 11 of the municipal code on there and
Which one's that one?
correcting where it doesn't say that
Oh,
restaurants are permitted in
Okay.
commercial.
Yeah.
zone.
As soon as
I think
you
we need
can.
to start on that.
We need,
I think we
yeah.
have to look at the matrix and straighten out that, and then get it adopted as a resolution, and then forward to the council and codify it.
And we already have it, old Nat and Roger went through, and I found where they had gone through, and it's track changes, and it's totally correct. It just
Old
never
Nat.
got taken through. So,
Do you want to make a comment about Old Matt?
the
appropriate,
fact
or-
that he's
Yeah, Matt,
so
Matt came back from his vacation with this young
Matt
guy,
Leal.
and he made an application to the Department of Transportation, Caltrans, as a planner, and they got accepted, and his wife is working down there, so they decided to move down there, and so we will not have his services coming back, and I'm deeply sorry that we're going to miss him. But I do have the second Matt is equally qualified.
Good. And is Matt staying?
Yeah.
So
Okay.
he lives in San
And
Yeah,
it's
San Luis Obispo.
indoctrination by fire.
So we call you New Matt?
Just Matt.
Well, we're glad to have you. Thank you for staying.
So what's his plans on staying? Is he planning on staying for a while?
Yeah.
So If we talk about 156, we'll be talking to Matt then, maybe?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We might.
Yeah, we have an
I think-
insider.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
But I think they're gonna station him in the South Division down in Santa Barbara,
Oh,
Paso Robles and South.
Yeah,
But maybe he'll get up here one of these days.
unless John Olenek retires. I don't
Yeah,
know.
right, yeah.
Okay,
Reduce- Get him thinking about reducing the speed limit.
you have any comments?
None.
Okay, there being no other comments, the chair will entertain a motion for adjournment.
I motion. Oh, go
I
ahead.
s-
I motion that we adjourn this meeting
I'll second
as
that.
of 8 o'clock or 2 minutes after.
8:08, okay.